It is 6 o'clock, Wednesday, March 10th. I call this meeting to order. Will you join us while Commissioner Hodges reads the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance?
We come to you this hour asking for your blessings and help as we gather together. We pray for guidance in the matter at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with spirit and joyous enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel on our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to attend. We ask that we also challenge each other to reach higher and further to be the best we can be. We ask this in your name. Amen.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks.
Here.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Price. Here. Commissioner Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Douthert.
Present.
Next is approval of the minutes. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes listed here on 4A.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges.
Yes.
Commissioner Douthert.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andrews.
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes. Next is introduction of new commissioners and recognition of former commissioner. City Clerk, will you proceed?
I, Douglas F. Andrews,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
the city charter,
the city charter,
city code,
city codes,
and policies and procedures of the city of Madeira Beach,
and policies and procedures of the city of Madeira Beach
and the Board of Commissioners,
and the Board of Commissioners,
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
and I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and I will well and faithfully perform, yes,
the duties of Commissioner District,
the duties of Commissioner of District 3,
upon which I am now about to enter.
upon now of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
David Dean Hudson,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the government of the United States
the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
the city charter,
the city charter,
city codes,
the city codes,
and policies and procedures of the city of Madeira Beach
and policy and procedures of the city of Madeira Beach
and of the Board of Commissioners,
and of the Board of Commissioners,
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Commissioner District 4,
the duties of Commissioner of District 4,
upon which I am now about to enter,
upon which I am now about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is an appreciation plaque for outgoing Commissioner Douthert. City Manager Daniels, would you?
Yes, Commissioner Douthert, as we know, is attending via Zoom, but as is customary, every one of our outgoing commissioners and mayors has received a plaque from the city, and I'll read to you the inscription. On behalf of the City of Madeira Beach and its citizens, we thank you for your dedicated service in making this a better community. Commissioner Douthert served March 2017 through March 2021, and we can give him a round of applause for his service.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mr. Mayor, before you call the roll,
Yes. Yes, Commissioner Douthert.
were you able to hear me?
We hear you now.
Okay, what I was saying is I wanted to thank the residents of the city of Madeira Beach to allow me to serve them as the Commissioner of District 4 for the last 4 years. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve the city of Madeira Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks,
Here.
Commissioner Price, Commissioner Hodges,
Here.
Commissioner Andrews,
Here.
Commissioner Hudson,
Here.
Next is appointment of a new vice mayor. This changes every year in March. Commissioner Andrews has been doing this for the past year. With that, I would like to turn the gavel over to Vice Mayor Andrews just for a minute, because I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion that Commissioner Price be installed as the next Vice Mayor of Madeira Beach.
I'll second that.
No,
Oh,
no,
I'll second.
okay, okay.
Can I second it?
Yes, you can second it. Any discussion amongst the board? City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges, Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews.
Yes. Congratulations,
Thank
Vice Mayor
you.
Price.
Thank you. The motion carried 5-0.
With
Thank
that,
you.
we're going to recess for 10 minutes or so we can have some refreshments and drinks and warn Commissioner Hudson of what he has gotten himself into.
Lock the door.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's March 10th, 6:17 PM. I call this meeting back to order. Next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next, we have a presentation, introduction of new hire for the fire department. Chief Clint Belt, will you take the podium, please?
Evening. Can you hear me? All right. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for allowing us a few moments this evening to recognize our newest firefighters. I've said it before, and to want to begin or continue your career during these times of a pandemic shows the quality of these individuals. So, with that, the first firefighter paramedic, he was a volunteer actually with Indian Rocks Beach. Prior to Madeira, he was with Hernando County for 8 years. And with that, I'll recognize, excuse me, firefighter Sean Clark.
Welcome back to the beach.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. No, I'm good. Thank you. The next firefighter is a former United States Marine Corps. He served 4 years. He was honorably discharged, and he comes to us with 3 years of previous experience from a Safety Harbor Fire Rescue. So with that, I'd like to introduce firefighter Michael Wazalewski. Excuse me there. Thank you again for allowing us this time.
Thank you very much. Next is public comment. Is there any public comment that is not on the agenda tonight? If so, step up to the podium. You have 3 minutes to speak. State your name and address.
Thank you, Mayor Hendricks and council members, for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Garrick Rowe, and I'm a student of public policy and administration at St. Petersburg College. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and have been coming to Madeira Beach for vacation since the family vacation since the early 70s. So it's very special to me and to my family to be standing before you here today. I'd like to speak to agenda item 2021-04, Appointments Planning Commission. In comparison, I researched most sustainable cities in Florida. These lists also come up as the greenest or the healthiest places to live in Florida. Always at the top of these lists, be it the top 5 or top 10, are Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and a place called Babcock Ranch. So I'd never heard of Babcock Ranch, so I called Babcock Ranch. I had to see what these sustainable folks were up to. So I met with Charlotte County Planner Sean Cullinan to better understand Babcock Ranch. Sean explained to me between their board of county commissioners and their local planning agency that there are real estate developers, an engineer, a community development director, and a medical doctor. Orlando's municipal planning board is similar, giving considerations to land planning and land development, architecture and landscape architecture, urban design, real estate, and engineering. I met with a third planner as well. She gave me some great nuggets to take back to my class. She said, we don't make decisions, we make recommendations. She went on to say, planning is ultimately a listening exercise and for me to keep my ears open. She said, what you're planning doesn't come from you, it's the community's plan. And I wanted to thank Miss Linda Patel for those words. I don't see her in here, but she left, but that was from Linda. So adding architecture, civil engineering, real estate sales or land development, natural science, and urban planning to Section 2-77 of Article 3 is directly in line with characteristics of the most sustainable cities in the state of Florida. So not only do I strongly support this ordinance, I could be of assistance with it going forward and hope to be a part of it in the future. Upon completion of my bachelor's, I'm going to pursue a master's in urban and regional planning from USF, so hopefully I can help. I want to thank Ms. Clara Van Blargen and Tamara Harvey and Linda Patel for all of their help in me getting my presentation ready. And thank you for your time. I hope my comparisons helped.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name's Don Taylor. I am a Realtor with office on Treasure Island, and I wanted to be sure you all were made aware of an opportunity that...
Mr. Taylor, can you state your address for us, please?
My address. Well, my office address, 9641 Gulf Boulevard, Treasure Island.
That's fine.
I live at 1 Key Capri, also on Treasure Island. I represent a client that owns property in Pelican Lane, and it is able to be purchased by someone. And I did have a conversation with Ms. Price earlier in the week about it, and wanted to be sure you all knew of its availability. Now, it's rare to have what could be access to Johns Pass Village by water able to be bought by the city. Perpetuity is a long time. I know, it may sound like a lot of money today, but if you look back on all the land purchases I'm sure Madeira Beach was involved in over the years, 20 years later, they look cheap as the devil. At the time, they might have seemed like a lot of money, but you own a lot of beachfront. I don't know how much waterfront you own. But this is right behind Johns Pass Village, Pelican Lane. There are 2 lots adjacent. They're each 40 by 115. I can tell you that's 80 by 115. It would allow, I think, a 9-unit condo motel type development to be built there. And perhaps that's what the residents would rather see in that location than publicly owned waterfront property that would give water access, as well as some extra parking in the Johns Pass Village area, which I do believe to be a dire need. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention to see if there's any questions or interest or potential in maybe pursuing this further at another record when I could get on an agenda.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Don't all speak at once. No questions?
Not tonight. Thank you. Anyone else? Are there any emails on public comment?
Not for general, no.
Okay. Next is public hearings. Ordinance 2021-03. City Attorney, will you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners. Ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending certain sections of Article 5, Purchase and Contracts of Chapter 2, Administration, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madeira Beach to provide for an increase of the $15,000 sealed bids threshold to $30,000. To provide that notice to bidders shall be published on the city's website. To provide that notice for all bids may be given by posting a request for proposals on a web-based notification and delivery system used for public solicitations. To provide for the deletion of printed advertisement, posting, or publication in that portion of the newspaper normally given to legal advertisements, and for the requirement that all bids, whether posted or advertised, bear the title Request for Bids. To provide for deletion of the requirements of a penal bond, a performance bond, and that all bidders shall possess a municipal or county occupational license. to address non-responsive bids, to address the amount of a bid bond, to provide revisions regarding the acceptance of bids, to provide revisions regarding the evaluation of bidder responsibility, to provide that change orders shall be approved by the city manager, to provide for an increase to the dollar thresholds in the regulations governing the purchase and sales criteria, and providing for an effective date hereof. That was the reading of ordinance 2021-03 by title only.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this matter? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance number 2021-03 in its first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson?
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is ordinance 2021-04. Director Portel?
Actually, we need the city attorney to.
Okay, thank you. City Attorney, will you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 2021-04, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending certain sections of Article 3, Boards, Committees, Commissions of Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madeira Beach, to delete reference to the Board of Commissioners as it relates to the local planning agency, to provide for the appointment of 7 members to the Planning Commission, to provide for the qualification of Planning Commission members, to provide for qualification criteria of Planning Commission members, to provide that the Planning Commission will meet monthly as necessary, to provide that hearing applications be filed with and noticed by the Community Development Department, to enlarge the notice area to 300 feet of the subject property, to provide that the Board of Commissioners will no longer provide clerical and administrative personnel to the Planning Commission, and providing for an effective date hereof. That was the reading of ordinance 2021-04 by title only.
Director Portel.
Good evening. We just recently discussed this in the workshop to let you know what it was all about. In part, it's a matter of making sure that you actively seek to recruit people with qualification in technical areas pertaining to planning to try to beef up the credentials of your planning commission and assist in your long-range planning.
Thank you. Is there any, are there any questions from the commission or comments?
Yeah, Linda, the only question I have is, the term "whenever possible" kind of waives anything that, if we don't have somebody that falls into that line, we certainly don't want to be pigeonholed into this, but we do have a little wiggle room on this, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's a small community and
Right.
limited pool just in terms of numbers, but there are a lot of qualified people retired out here.
Right.
Could make
Cool.
a contribution.
Excellent. That's all the questions. I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2021-04 on first reading.
First, we need public comment, if there's any. That's okay. Is there any public comment on this? Electronic comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, sir.
I will make a motion to pass ordinance 2021-04 in the first reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is the consent agenda.
I'd like to talk about this a little bit.
Okay.
I'm just a little concerned that we have, I just want to make sure that the proposals in which our recreation department graded or rated is actually apples to apples. Because now we've got two different companies, one who doesn't even have skin in the game, sending us letters about the deficiencies of one of the chosen vendors. And I just want to make sure that, I guess Jay is aware of those letters and has seen them and has looked into it to make sure. I mean, because there's one of the allegations is that one of the vendors that we are accepting didn't even include the soccer fields in the lighting, and that, of course, therefore their bid is lower. It's very technical, and I don't know everything about it, but it just concerns me that that two different vendors have come forward and basically complained about somebody who was chosen, and frankly, when I look at the rating sheets, they're almost identical. And I just want to make sure that when you talk to these people and negotiate with them, which I know we discussed during the workshop, that you're aware of the letters and that you get it straightened out, because I don't want to, this is a lot of money. I don't want to get relighting done and then us have to go back and clean up.
Before we speak on this, is it on the consent, or are we pulling it?
Pardon me?
If we're pulling it from the consent agenda, then we'll talk about it, but otherwise, I just want to follow the
It
process.
just got pulled off the consent agenda when I said I'd like to talk about it, assuming it did.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, I mean, I have received the letters.
Okay.
There's been a lot of, as I said, I graded all of them with the same grading sheet. There's much more that we have to get into, and that's going to be part of the discussions. You know, I think there's a possibility that if I got into every aspect of it, I could throw every proposal out based on what we asked for, including lobbying, which is what you guys are experiencing. Mm-hmm. That's one of the portions within the RFP, to no lobbying, and we're getting plenty of that. So I've tried to, you know, since the last meeting, I've gotten requests and feedbacks and everything else. I'm dealing with one of the requests, but I've also chosen not to open dialogue with all this, because I want to make sure that when we get to a point of approved by you guys, then I can open that dialogue, because I'm not going to do or say anything that messes with that in the meantime. So if, like I said, if I can't work it out, I'm dealing with a $250,000 or more budget. Put it lightly, I don't plan on screwing this up. So,
Right.
yes, I have received all that stuff, and we're going to work through it. So,
I'm just not sure if you see the stuff that I'm getting, and I just didn't want this to go by without bringing it to your attention and letting people out there know that I'm kind of looking at this stuff, and I would like you to.
And of the three,
I don't want to tell you how to do your job, because like I said, that's quite technical, what they're talking about, and I don't understand it.
well, yeah, and we've had to ask for help, and we're going to ask for more help. You know, there were 3 bids. 2 of those bids, and those where you're receiving information, were the same product. 2 different companies installing that same product, mm-hmm. and you're getting the information from that same company. So, you know, I get it. It's expensive and it's competitive, and I can appreciate all that stuff. And it's not making it easier for sure, but I want to make sure we get this right. So.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Not for me, anyhow. How should I proceed from this point?
Just the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Just a motion to approve this consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll
Go
make a
ahead.
motion.
No?
Not on consent agenda.
Not on the
only.
consent agenda.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
City Clerk, we call the roll.
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes. Commissioner Hudson?
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next is unfinished business. Revisit seawall assessment. Director Weffner.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think this is an issue that Commissioner Andrews brought up to reconsider, and that's why it's on the agenda, and we put everything to a halt. I can have Megan come up, but Commissioner, maybe you can explain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Megan, you please feel free to stand at the podium for a sec. I've got a couple things on this that I want to talk about real quick. And I was the one who asked this to be revisited with Jamie handing in his resignation. Main reason is this, and Mr. Mayor, I know that you were staunchly against this from the beginning, and frankly, I was pretty much on the fence, and my decision was made up pretty much based on what our executive personnel we had in place at the time. I know Jamie wasn't a seawall expert. I know that we probably needed to take a look at these things, but frankly, we don't know what we're going to hire, who we're going to hire next in that role. We could get somebody that is a complete expert in the world of seawalls, and I don't think the seawalls are collapsing today or tomorrow. So my only suggestion on that is if we tap on the brakes here a little bit and we aggressively start looking for Jamie's permanent replacement. So all I'm really asking right now on this particular issue of this topic is that we table this contract until we get a new public works director named, a permanent new public works director named, if that pleases you guys. $33,000 is a lot of money to spend on something if we don't need it.
I think this is more appropriate for a workshop discussion.
Right? If we're going to table it.
I have no idea what this was about until just now, right? Just to revisit the seawall. I have a different view. I think we need to protect the assets in the city, and that we should have a third person. Even if we have a seawall expert that comes in as our new public works director, I still would want a third party looking at our seawalls, assessing which ones are going to be requiring work sooner than others, getting a schedule going, and start keeping our city up instead of just running around fixing things that break. So that's just my two thoughts. I'm not, just $30,000 to get started on it with somebody whom Jamie was very confident in. I was confident in his decision of who he chose. We can still whittle it down if we feel like we don't want to include the park here, but I would like to go ahead with it. I think it's important that this city keep its assets up and not collapsing, and that we keep the maintenance going on these things.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Price, I think you're right. Maybe we should move this to a workshop, because I think you're missing what I'm looking at. I'm not saying to cancel the contract. I'm saying let's just tap on the brakes here, only because if we bring in somebody that does have that expertise, I agree with you that a third party should look at it. But, my feeling is you get a third party that is looking to do business with us, they may do an assessment, just like you get somebody who's looking to put carpet in your house, right? They're going to come in and give you a free estimate on what we're looking at.
Specifically does not repair seawalls.
What's that?
The company that we talked with Jamie with 2 workshops ago specifically does not repair seawalls. They're
I agree.
Looking at it, making notes on which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones are going to need work, so that we can start budgeting in the future. Here's 3 areas we'll budget next year. Here's 3 areas the next year. Same thing we should be doing with our roads, not letting them get into such disrepair that we have to go in and, recreate everything. So.
Agree with everything you're saying.
Okay.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just, on this particular issue, I just think we need to tap on the brakes and let's take a look at this. And I'm not saying we hopefully we have a replacement in place soon, but we have people that have worked on our seawalls in town that, you're right, maybe they're not engineering type people, but that's what they do for a living. And I just think we could get at least get a look at what we're looking at. And I agree with you about the roads. Trust me, I've been preaching about that for 2 years, and that's why I was screaming and yelling about Crystal Island costing so much money, because they put other projects on the back burner now. But, you know, I think we need to be good stewards of the money, and I think that, you know, I think this is an appropriate topic for a workshop. Yeah, I think we should probably move it to that.
I agree. I think we need to move it to another workshop and at least hold off until we see who's coming into that position.
Can we hear from Megan?
Any further questions?
Megan, you've been with the city for many years.
Yeah.
In the past, how have the seawalls been handled? I know we have some seawalls that have been replaced in the city.
I believe in 2013, there were a fair amount of seawalls that were replaced. I can find that information and bring it to the workshop. But previously, if we had a problem with the seawall, we called the contractor, and they would come out and take a look at it for free. And then if there was something that we could do, we would fix it. If it needed to be repaired by them, they would then give us a quote to fix it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Meg, hold on one second. I'm sorry, I just got a couple of quick questions for you. First off, congratulations, this is a well-deserved appointment. I think you've been working really hard for this city for a really long time, and I'm glad you got recognized for it. I do have a couple of quick things for you. I know we've been doing a lot of commission studies and things along the line there, but when was the last time that, you know, our stormwater drains and pipes were cleaned out? Do you remember?
I think it was 2013 by, I can't think of the contractor's name, but I do have the paperwork on my...
2013, okay.
They camera the pipes, clean the pipes, and then gave us an assessment.
Okay. And the second one, because I know it just came up again, but how long was it that since you and Dave put together that comprehensive plan to get the pilings?
Point of order, we're getting way off track here. These are items that should be discussed in a workshop. We haven't given the public we have to give them notice of what we talk about in these meetings. And you are bringing up...
That's fine,
you know,
I will stop.
We all know you advocate Dave coming back. I'm welcoming
a new, and I want to know what's going on in the department, and I want to know that the jobs that we require people to do on a daily basis are getting taken care of.
Here's the city manager. Pick up the phone and give him a call. That's his job, to keep us informed of this kind of stuff.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Megan, you can sit down. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
not to belabor this issue, but technically, we already had a vote on record to approve this measure. If we can have a vote on record to,
Postpone it.
what's the right, postpone it and go to a workshop, or invalidate that, what's the proper way?
It would be a motion to reconsider the previous motion that would approve the proposal.
Okay, first, I think we need to open it for public comment. Is there any public comment on this? Do I have a motion to postpone this item?
I'll make a motion to postpone the seawall assessment contract.
And I'll second that.
Mayor, if I may, I think technically it should be a motion to reconsider, which really brings it up on the table, and then after that would be a motion to table. It would probably be the appropriate one to a workshop. Is that correct?
It would be a motion to reconsider the previous vote. Once the motion to reconsider has been voted upon, then it's back on the table, and you can decide, are you going to move forward with that proposal or not move forward? And it would be, what the direction I'm hearing is that you would not be moving forward on that proposal at this time. So the appropriate motion is a motion to reconsider the previous vote, which was to authorize that proposal. So the motion to postpone only basically moves this off of one agenda onto the next agenda. So I would say withdraw your motion to postpone and have a motion to reconsider.
Okay, I will withdraw my motion to postpone, and I will make a motion to revisit the seawall assessment.
Reconsider
the seawall assessment.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson?
No.
Vice Mayor Price?
No.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
The motion carried 3-2.
Okay, so the proposal for that work is back on the table, so you would either need a motion to postpone that, a motion to not move forward on that proposal, a motion to table it to a different date and time. Maybe it would be appropriate to be a motion to table to the next workshop, and that would get you a point where you can discuss it.
Okay.
Good. I'd like to make a motion to table the seawall assessment to the workshop on March the 24th.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is the Palm Street property. Commissioner Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've really got nothing new to add here today. You know, I know when we were talking about this a month ago, we were looking at having the property assessed. You know, I know some numbers are flying around here about that Caddy's purchased that parcel for less than $100,000. So I thank Vice Mayor Price for straightening out somebody online about that. But you know, it's since that came up a month ago, there's been a lot of discussion on it, and honestly, I'm sure there's some public comment. I'd actually like to hear what people are saying, because I've heard just about a little bit of everything on it. So, you know, I'd like to open it up to discussion.
Well, I like the idea. I just want to make sure that we get a good price, you know, that we negotiate a good deal for the city, that's all. I liked it when you brought it up the first time.
Well, I've mulled it over for a while, and I actually have looked at another piece of property, and that is the property on 150th, the old yellow garage. And I think the city would be much better off to invest its money in a piece of property where we could have public works, where we have parking, where we free up property at the marina, where we get out of quite a bit of a lease on the property across from Bay Pines Hospital, of a functioning building that can house all of our equipment, get it out of the weather, plenty of parking even for metered parking back there for what eventually will be our redeveloped town center, so that we can get parking machines in there. I think it's a lot better bang for the buck for the city to purchase that property and free up land in the marina for a high drive facility and parking there. And frankly, the perception of buying the Palm Street property I don't think is good. If the developers and the property owner wanted it for parking, I think they should go ahead and improve it for parking. I have no problem with them working with the city commission on getting the proper zoning for that, provided they do what they've done on their present property on following the regulations that we put in order. But I think the money would be much better spent and be a much better asset for us to look into obtaining the property at 150th and East Madeira Avenue. That's just my feeling on it.
I did notice the other day when we had the opening for the park next to Caddy's, a lot of people used that parking lot to park their vehicles in. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but that area was quite full. There is a mobile home type of thing out there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe it's not a mobile home. It is a house.
Yeah, it's a house. It's just right
But
on the property line of
seemed
the
like
other one, yeah.
it's pretty well secured in there. But, as far as the property goes, you know, if we could get something like that, I think it'd be great for Caddy's being right across the street.
It'd be great for caddies, and I'm sure we would be making money on the parking meters, but there's only 10 spots there, and I know we discussed this, and it's basically a 10-year payoff. But I look at the long-term investment, and Director Wepfer, I'd like you to put in some comment on this also. We walked over and walked through that other property, and maybe we're out of line on talking about this other piece of property right now, but my whole thought process on this is that that's a much better purchase for the city rather than the Palm Street property, because the city will actually get to use this property. Would you like to fill the commission in on what we saw when we went over the property?
For Public Works, we have a very limited area for our facilities. We are currently in a shed, and a construction trailer is where my office is. Our equipment is outside, so it's getting weathered, it's getting rusted. We have machines that are only a few years old that are rusting horribly. Our equipment goes missing all the time. We're missing trash cans. Just the other day, we had to buy new post hole diggers because they get stolen out of the trucks. Cones go missing. So for us, a secured property, enclosed property for our equipment would be ideal.
So is it big enough to keep all the equipment inside the building?
Absolutely.
The weather?
Yeah.
Well,
Put it on the workshop and
that's-
we'll talk dollars, I guess. I mean, we don't have enough to go on to really discuss it now.
No, I know that now, but I'm just saying I think it's a better buy for the city. That's just my thoughts on it, and that I'm only one of 5, but I don't think it's a good perception of buying the Palm Street property, particularly when we've got 150th Avenue that right now is available.
The lot on 150th, will the lifts and the doors and everything work for garbage trucks and?
They took the lifts out, but we have a lift over at Bay Pines that we currently use. So we don't use the regular lifts to lift the garbage truck or the fire trucks. Those, if they need that, they go out. But the doors are tall enough to fit our equipment. We would need to measure for the fire trucks and the garbage trucks, but for everything else, yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that even the fire trucks will fit in there.
Yeah, we didn't get an exact measurement of those doors, but we could do that.
Well, I'm not adverse to getting a mortgage and doing them both. I mean, it can't hurt to get land. I mean, we just listened to Mr. Taylor talk about, I'm not necessarily into buying waterfront parking behind Pelican Lane,
Yeah.
but as these opportunities come up and the interest rates we have today, I think we'd be doing well to invest in our city and in our own land.
Yeah, it's not like we're spending money and not having anything for it. We've
Right.
got hard assets for the city. And really, both pieces of property are going to be paying the city back every day. Personally, I think 150th is a much better buy. But, I wonder if we shouldn't move this to a workshop again and have some more discussion on it, discussion about, the alternative to Palm.
That sounds good, but I have just one question, just out of curiosity. Are they parking on Palm Street itself?
If I may, they are parking on the Palm Street lot, which is not allowed.
On the lot? Okay, but they're
Because it's
not
a
on the street
residential.
itself. Okay.
Well, there is, if you have a city parking permit, you can park in the street. Those signs were changed. We're working on expanding that zone, so we can take in more of the area. Obviously, I know we hit a couple nights where they did, all the employees from all the caddies were there on Monday night. Last night was a VIP night, and they had a lot of representatives from, I guess, the different companies that did work there and the different jurisdictions that they have a caddies. And tonight is their grand opening night, but, so we are gonna probably have a lot of traffic again tonight. We have some extra, parking enforcement folks out, and, but we, I think the crowd should start to level off a little bit, and the parking, we're still gonna have a parking problem, but we need to work on that. But I don't think it's gonna be quite as bad as it's been the last couple of nights, but we'll have to see. But those are things that we're looking at. And getting back to this, I just need direction from you all, on the appraisals. Any property we buy, the first step is getting an appraisal, so what the market truly is, because in this market's crazy, as we know, between, the property values going up and what was, 300,000 today could be 700,000 tomorrow, just because of the way that it's increasing. So, if we are gonna do something, I think, time is probably of the essence, is my only advice to y'all.
I thought we agreed on an appraisal on the Palm property. I guess we didn't vote on it, but.
Well, I'm all set to go. I've got the firm lined up, and, it'll probably, for the Palm Street, it'd probably run us about $600 on the appraisal. The garage, I haven't gotten an estimate on what it would cost us, but, I can, if you all want that for the workshop meeting, and try to get it all done.
Well, perhaps we need to pursue having an appraisal done on both pieces of property, and then we can discuss the two and what's best for the city between the two, or maybe it's all of them. I mean, interest rates are so low right now. It's not like it's not like it's money down the drain. It's hard assets for the city.
Right.
Regardless of what route we want to go. If it's one piece of property, personally, I would rather see the 150th Street, 150th Avenue property purchased.
Just for the record, too, I did have some conversations with Andrew on the financing piece. So depending on, how aggressive you wanted us to get, he's ready to go look at what we could do to finance. Of course, we got to know what the amount is, other than what the listing amounts are. But hopefully we can do better than what the properties are listed for.
Okay, do you have that with you tonight, Andrew? Would you like to share some of it with us?
Numbers together, but whatever the proposed purchase price could be, I'll present a slew of options: buying outright, bank financing with our existing financial institution, or potentially issuing a bank note, depending on the amount. So once I know that and you all want to move forward, I can certainly present you all with all the options.
Okay, thank you.
And certainly we'll want to know what we're paying rent down off-site, too.
Right.
I'd rather we pay ourselves than.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
And as I said, as that frees up land at the marina with Public Works coming down here, it expands the footprint of a high-dry storage facility. So you're stacking more boats in there, which are, and those high-dry facilities are getting anywhere from $22 to $25 a foot per month. Mm-hmm. So, I think that would be really a win-win if we're able to move Public Works.
Okay, now I feel like we're piling on Mr. Andrews. But I think Jamie or somebody also had an idea of adding street parking and one-direction traffic on Palm, or the one, what's the cross street, 140th? No, it was on Palm.
Actually, I think, 141st.
Okay. And that way possibly get the parking revenue without spending as much money.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that on-street parking is going to slim down after they get their initial opening done. I drove through there a day or so ago, and people were parked on the streets all the way back to Miramar and North Bay Shore. It was jammed, but I think that's going to settle down. And I do know that the owners of Caddy's are working with Church by the Sea to possibly rent out their parking lot and have a shuttle going back and forth to the restaurant. So I thought that was a great idea. So, is there any public comment on this?
I do have an electronic one.
Okay.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. This is from Mr. William Gay. As at a recent BOC meeting, Commissioner Doug Andrews presented an offer from SFMB, Mad Beach Properties, aka Caddy's, to sell to the city a lot at the intersection of Palm Street and 140th Avenue. Caddy's offered to sell the vacant lot configured for parking for a total of $430,000. This is broken down as follows: $250,000 for the vacant residential lot, $180,000 for creating 10 parking spaces on the lot. As proposed, each parking space would cost the city about $43,000. Caddy's representative claims the company paid $250,000 for the lot in 2017. A review of the Pinellas County property appraiser's tax records paints a very different picture of the value of the vacant lot. The lot was part of the 3-property deal that includes the lot on which the new Caddy's restaurant is located and 2 vacant lots. Caddy's paid $2,650,000 for the 3 lots. The Pinellas appraiser valued the vacant Palm Street residential lot at $121,000 in 2017. This is less than half of the $250,000 Caddy's claimed it paid for on the property in 2017. Even by 2021 standards, the $250,000 asking price is out of line with property values in the neighborhood. Lots of similar size in the neighborhood with homes on them are valued at less than $225,000 by the county appraiser. Creation of a parking lot on the property will require the city to rezone the property from residential to commercial. The city has not performed any due diligence to determine the cost recovery period for the acquisition of the lot. Finally, the acquisition of a parking lot is not in the current budget. This ill-conceived deal appears to be a win-win for Caddy's and a lose-lose for the taxpayers of Madeira Beach. It needs to be rejected.
Is there, yes.
Robert Preston, 425 South Bay Shore Drive, Madeira Beach. I agree with you all that this all needs to be revisited and worked through a little bit. I just became aware that the old Madeira Beach garage became available, and it would be a workable option for the city to use for their equipment. So I like the idea of it going back to workshops so you can work all this out. As far as the Palm Street, the return on investment is somewhat 10 years or whatever the case may be. But there's probably also an option for Caddy's to ask for a variance if they want to use that as parking. We won't get any money out of it, but we won't be spending any money at this point in time. And maybe we could better use that money for the 150th and put in parking, like the mayor had said, because eventually Madeira Way is going to grow and it's going to need more parking. We need parking in Madeira Beach, and that's only one spot on Palm Street for basically one, business area, that and a Sweet Brunette, probably. But something like where the garage is, if it's large enough, and you can put in more parking there, it's gonna be able to be used by, they're gonna see it coming into town, for one. Palm Street, they won't see as much, but maybe the one, at 150th they'll see, and it's near Madera Way. You know, the situations like they were just having the Wednesday market, right? People have a place to park, they walk across the street, they're at the Wednesday market, that type of thing. So I like the idea of revisiting and looking at all the options. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do I have a motion?
To what?
To what? To what? To move, to move Palm Street property and the 150th Avenue property to the next workshop for further discussion.
I'll make that motion, that we put all land acquisitions on the next workshop coming up.
Is there a second?
I second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, next is the workshop agenda setting meeting. So we know we need to add this property discussion.
Yeah. I'd also like to add some sort of discussion of, I don't know, reducing or eliminating lengthy or outdated ordinances. We come up here and we do 2 ordinances a month. Our ordinances are huge and kind of unwieldy. And I think maybe we should start looking at our ordinances and coming up with suggestions on ones that we can either update or shorten or something so that it's, I know we have the sign ordinance, that's a perfect example of one we could start working on, frankly. And maybe we start with that one. But, I don't know. I'll come up with some ideas and bring them up every
Okay.
every
Yeah,
workshop.
and that goes back to the whole thing of there's no sense in having ordinances if we're not enforcing them. So, that's something we need to discuss too. If we're not going to enforce our ordinances, what have we got them on the books for? If they're on the books, we need to start enforcing them. So,
well, why don't I just kind of change that to a discussion of what we would desire in the next sign ordinance, so that we don't have 15 pages of, stuff that is sort of repetitious, and I know Linda has some ideas maybe, but
I think
you can get
Linda's
an idea
probably
from us.
been working on it some, haven't you, Linda, in your spare time? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it something you may be able to review before the next workshop?
We need our sign code expert, who's drafted most of the sign codes for the cities in Pinellas County, who works in my office, Rob Eschenfelder, to come and explain to you why you need your sign ordinance, and you should not be cutting corners on it. And so I mean, obviously, we can have Rob review it and suggest updates, but most of the time when we do these codes, it expands the language in the code to cover every instance so that you're not being sued, so you don't have billboards on every corner, and so you don't have your sign code thrown out because one part of it is ambiguous and other parts aren't. So I'd be very careful on that sign code. You don't have any billboards here in Madeira Beach that I'm aware of, do you? We don't. Any billboards?
No.
No.
Yeah. God, you wouldn't want that to start. So we have to be very, very careful.
Okay.
And I have another suggestion for you, too, relative to the ordinances. You could appoint an ordinance review committee. An ordinance review committee, most cities do it. They do it every 5 to 7 years, and they establish a committee of 5 to 7 people, and they meet for approximately 9 to 12 months, once a month, and they start in the front of the code book and they work to the back. They meet with city staff. They review other codes, and then they come with recommendations to you for you to review. And obviously, each commissioner, the vice mayor, or the mayor could attend those meetings on an individual basis. If you have comments or questions or concerns or suggestions, that committee would hear them. But ultimately, a report would be issued to come back to you for consideration, and then you would direct us to draft the appropriate ordinances that you feel good about. So that ordinance review committee could cut your work down substantially, and that's a suggestion that I would have. The ordinance review committee would be manned by myself as your city attorney, and usually the city clerk or someone from her office would be there as well at every single meeting, and so we would help them work through the process.
Okay. So sounds like a good idea.
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir. And also, in the next over the next 5 or 6 months or 7 months, municipal code will be doing a legal review of our entire code for insurance of federal and state law compliance.
Okay. Thank you.
So maybe the committee might be better to start after that's completed, so at least we know we've gotten that through, and then we can work on getting volunteers in for the committee and of whatever functions, and we can talk about that at the next meeting and try to set up a roadmap for that.
And also, City Manager, the municipal code will also be drafting ordinances in their review for the commission to consider, which they'll go to the city attorney's office and to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I need to add something to the workshop agenda, if I may.
Okay.
And that's an update on the fireworks situation. So we'll put that together, and if that's okay with you all. And I think, Commissioner Hudson, if there was something that you needed to bring up, now's the time to add that to the workshop list.
Okay, I'll wander into this. When we ran for our election, we were supposed to get a form signed, the treasury form, and take that to the bank and get it changed and open an account. Most of the banks, well, the two that I went through, and I think I called another one, wouldn't do it without us having another number that we get from filing for an LLC, and that costs money. So we get caught in you need to spend money before you can create the bank account to pay for it. So we need to come up with a way for whoever runs in the future to do this, whether that's lengthening the time from the 2 weeks to 3 weeks or something, so you have time to request this LLC and get a number, but then you'll also need to either pay for it some way and then be reimbursed for it if that's possible.
And also, what I can do is reach out to each of the banks, and when the election time comes next time, and put it down to what banks in the local area, that there will be no problem for opening a campaign checking account. And I think that would be very helpful. I can reach out to all of them, and that way I'm not choosing this one over the next, you know, giving one business and not the other, you know, just all of them in the area and check with each one of them and come up with a list. And I think that would be very helpful, and candidates can choose which bank to go to.
I know when I ran, I checked with all the banks, so that's been done. And Bank of America was the only one I could get to open a campaign account.
Yeah, just from my experience, from 2 years ago, it was simple. This past time, Commissioner Hudson's spot on. It was a real pain in the neck.
Really?
And especially with COVID too, you had to wait for appointments. So you go there, you get an appointment, you sit with the banker, and I have accounts with Bank of America and BB&T, and you get in front of them and they go, oh yeah, they changed the state law on how to do this, so you need an LLC to do it. So it was a real pain in the neck. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's a discussion we need to have, and if we have the information, I don't even know, but Clara can probably can hop on that. But yeah, it's something that we've got to just make it easier. I mean, I'm not, you know, I mean, lengthening the time or shortening the time is really irrelevant. We just need to make that process, that particular process, opening the account easier, so we don't discourage anybody from running that wants to run.
I'll agree, and I'll present a report in the packet for the workshop.
Okay, so we'll add that to the workshop.
So did state law change? Is
Yeah.
that what I'm, oh,
Yeah,
okay, so I'd like to
election
see
laws
the state
change, yeah.
law and then our process.
I will check
In the
that out,
packet.
and I'll speak to them and see what's going on and see what direction to go. And
Yeah.
I'll put options in there.
And Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'd like to add is what we were talking about Megan with earlier, that we wanted to move to a workshop. I just kind of want to take a look at what we're looking at for the requirements for a new Public Works Director and see where we are with certain day-to-day projects in Public Works. I'd just like an update on that.
Okay. So is there anything else? Do any of the other commissioners have anything they'd like to put on here?
Actually, I'd like to take, assuming that we're not going to be trying to put together a committee for our ordinances soon, because it's being reviewed by another group, I don't need to talk about taking, you know, looking at our ordinances. You can take that off. Okay. That was just something that gets my goat, that we keep adding ordinances and ordinances and ordinances, and we don't take anything out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and I'll calendar it, so when the appropriate time comes, we can bring it
Yeah,
forward
that'd be
for
great.
discussion.
So, City Manager, will you give us some direction here on
Sure.
the rundown for the
The list that I have, starting with the pre-printed list, is the beach tractor purchase, the amendment to the Code of Ordinances in reference to the garbage collection policy, the old Madeira Beach garage site, and the Palm site for acquisition, the amendments to the BOC policy handbook. We're at that 1 year mark again, so to go through those, and hopefully you like this style of doing the workshop agenda setting at this meeting instead of doing a separate meeting, because, it gives us one set of minutes that we don't have to deal with, and hopefully more use of our time. And then if we have to add something, we can add it at the same time. And then the seawall assessment, the requirements for a Public Works Director, and I think that's it.
Election bank accounts,
Oh, election bank accounts, I'm sorry. I didn't write that one down, I apologize.
and did you say fireworks?
Yes, fireworks. I'm sorry, I'll repeat it again, and fireworks. That one I had too, Jay upset at me.
All right. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is staff reports.
Under the city manager's report that was published, I think you all have a copy of it. I do have the statistics corrected for January for the sheriff's office code enforcement activities, and that'll be out to you probably by Friday in a separate document. But as I thought, there was a lot of cases that were missed on that report, and we've kind of circled back around and figured out a way to make sure that we don't do that in the future. And that's it on really the report. If you want me to go into the update on the county park?
Yes, please.
Okay. I started out talking with Tyler and Tyler from Saltwater Destination to just let them know that I'm looking into it, and they're happy if they can come up with some answers by April. As you know, dealing with the county situation was difficult. I did actually get a copy of the franchise for their beach chairs on our beach. I also did some research on the property. The property itself is, I guess there was an arrangement where we enforced the parking there at the park, but the county still owned the county park, and since 1980. So I've been researching all the background to see if we gave any money to the county. I still haven't gotten an answer on that one yet. There's $300,000 back in 1980 that was used for beach access, and I'm not sure if it's part of that yet or not. We're still researching. The clerk's been helping me out a lot. Also, in their lease, it calls for mobile vending on our beach, and we don't allow that. So I do have a message into the county administrator to sit down and talk to him about the problems that we have with business being conducted on our beach, and I'll be going ahead with that meeting and seeing how we can rectify this situation. The second part of it are the other beach vendors that are there, and I have letters that are ready to go out Friday dealing with driving on the beach and expanding their operations off the private property that they're on. We're also looking at contacting all of the condos along the beach area and let them know that we do have a sole exclusive franchise agreement with Saltwater Destinations. Basically, they're in a phase where they have new chairs that are coming in, so they can't expand without having a great difficulty, and as things get busier, they have plans for further expansion. So they're happy with the conversation where we're at, and hopefully we can move forward on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I just want to give a quick little history lesson on this, and I got this from a source beyond reproach. So, the county's owned that property since '78. I think we all knew that going in. We worked out an agreement. The city of Madeira Beach worked out an agreement with them at some particular point in time. There's no copy of the agreement anywhere, but that we would maintain the land and we would get an unknown amount of the parking revenue. Somewhere in the last 15 years, the county came to the city and asked them to obtain an indemnification policy for the park, for where people were parking. Because we had workers working out there. If somebody got hurt, they wanted to make sure that we had coverage for them, which, like I said, doesn't seem unreasonable to me at all, especially how cheap indemnification policies are. But the city declined, and the county stripped the city of all their involvement in county park. And that, my guess and the guess of the people that I talked to, somewhere around 2007, 2008, that all came down. But, this has been going on for a while. This is not, we haven't done what we said we were going to do 2 weeks ago. And I'll reiterate this. 2 weeks ago I said, and this was brought to the attention of the staff over a year ago, or about a year ago, said on February 24th, if this was not cleared up by tonight, we need to honor our deal with Saltwater Destination and see no other option than to make a motion to suspend their payment to us, because they're supposed to be our only contracted provider out there. So I kind of feel like we have no other option at this point. We got to put a little pressure on our staff to get this done. These people are on the beach. These are accessible people. They're on the beach every day. We can talk to them. We can get the contract that they have. Okay. they do drive on the beach. They have extended their reach way beyond the property lines. And the bottom line is, you know, I know we're trying to be diplomatic with the county, but it's not their beach to rent out. I mean, that's the bottom line here. And they've been collecting revenues for an unknown amount of time at this particular point in time. We have a contract. We have given a contract to a group that we've said, you've got access to all the public beach, and we're not honoring our contract. So it is my recommendation to you guys that until we get all this tied up, that we suspend payment of their contract so that since they're getting screwed out of the first couple of weeks of spring break at a minimum, that we suspend the payment of their contract until we get all of our ducks in a row and get this situation handled. Thank you.
What's keeping them from putting their chairs out on our Madeira Beach beaches? What's keeping them from doing it?
Oh, and just starting a war on County Beach? I mean, the County Beach people have a contract.
You just said the contract we have with them is for Madeira Beach beaches.
Correct.
So if the county beach is not our beach, that
County
wasn't
beach
part
is
of
our
their...
beach.
That wasn't
County
part
parking lot's not our parking lot. The county
Okay.
beach is our beach. The county has a contract with another vendor to put chairs on the beach that they don't have access, they don't have the rights to.
Well, was that in place when we made the agreement with Tyler and Tyler or some, I don't...
It was supposed to have been discussed.
Once again, we're
Right.
talking about something, I don't have the contract to talk intelligently about
It was
this.
supposed to be given you tonight. We talked
Oh.
about this on the 24th, that this was supposed to be.
It's not part of the packet? I didn't...
I don't make the packet. This was discussed on the
I'm
24th. I made that.
devil's advocate here. I don't know
All right,
if
then
we're
we'll put it
doing
on, all right, happy, then we'll put it on the workshop, and we'll talk about it again. What I'm saying is, I talked about this the other day,
And
on
I
the
don't think it was
24th.
appropriate to talk about it then. It needs to be noticed so that everyone watching this meeting,
It was on the agenda on the 24th meeting. That's what we talked about it.
no, because I even said, where's the contract? How can I discuss this? I thought we were going off on a tangent. Was it on the agenda?
Okay, so every time somebody goes off on a tangent, we'll just stop the meeting from now on.
All I'm saying
Okay, that's
is,
fine.
we keep doing this where I'm supposed to be now making some sort of decision whether we want to stop payments to the city from a vendor. I don't even know if we did anything wrong, right? I mean, what is stopping them from putting their stuff? Is it us? No, it's not us. So why are we fixing this? It's the county, apparently, right, who made a deal with somebody else. And if those people were out there at the outset of the contract with saltwater destinations, then I don't know how they can complain about it now, right? I don't know how many of those condos own the beach, how much of the sand we own. I mean, we need to know specifically, and presumably, when this contract was made, both parties knew exactly where the beach chairs were going to go. You know, if we have people encroaching over from the condos onto our South Beach or Johns Pass Beach, then absolutely we should be out there telling them to get off. But
This goes back to enforcement. Exactly. You know, ordinance, you know, whether it's ordinance enforcements or whether it's contracts enforcement on contracts we have with vendors. And I have told saltwater destinations several times that if they want to put chairs on down the beach, they have every right to do that, including in front of some of these condominiums that have chairs out. Those chairs have got to be back inside wherever that property line is that Saltwater Destinations is the vendor and can go down there and put chairs out. And they have chosen not to do that.
and that's my point.
Yeah.
Can I
I don't know what would happen. I mean,
We would be enticing people to fight each other over, somebody's going to waive their contract, the saltwater destination guys are going to waive theirs. And we are not doing our job of enforcing that. That's the problem. And it's been going on for a really long time. So that's why I brought it up 2 weeks ago, that we get this settled in 2 weeks and we figure out where we're going.
Yeah.
okay?
Well,
So
we're working with the county, you can't, like, tell the county to give us back our beach.
we can't,
that we
it's
apparently
on the
gave
county
them.
appraiser's line. There's a line there that shows that it's our beach. They own the property of the parking lot. They don't own the beach.
Yeah, but it's hard to go to the county and say, hey, county, get your vendors off our beach. I mean, it's gonna take them time to work through it. They have a contract with
Which
somebody,
is exactly why I
apparently.
brought it up 2 weeks ago, to have a discussion with the county that we haven't had. We should have had this discussion a year ago. I brought this up well over a year ago, okay? So we have made no progress, and I want to make progress. That's why I put the 2-week notification last meeting and said, if we don't get this done, I'm going to make a motion to do that. I'm going to make a motion that these guys don't have to pay till we get our house in order.
Well,
If you just want to say that we want to just let them put beach chairs wherever they want, okay. Then we got to deal with the consequences of what happens then.
Look, we're all talking about,
we're on staff reports right now. I think, City Manager Daniels, I'd like you to get back with us on this and as to where we stand with the county, and let's pursue getting saltwater destinations to, if they want to expand, they've got every right to do that, and I think they need to step forward and voice this themselves, because they've had opportunity to expand and they haven't taken advantage of it. I know we've got chairs at County Park. They need to be back behind the property line. If Saltwater Destinations wants, again, I don't want to start a war or anything either. But we need to make it clear to whoever has the contract with the county that they've got to have their chairs back behind a certain line. And again, it comes down to enforcement. And enforcement is something that's very lacking here with, not just this, but with many of our ordinances.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, when we started this discussion at the workshop meeting, it dealt with, looking at the parking concession, the parking revenues that were coming in, and again, looking at having a part of that, and I think Kathleen Peters was part of that, but it's almost contrary, we're doing that, and then, that's why I'm trying to diplomatically work out a solution for the beach problem. And I think that's probably the precedent-setting one, and I do agree with, Commissioner Andrews on that, that's something that we really need to take care of. I know the Commissioner Andrews said 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks does not give us a lot of time to try to get everything done, and that's why I'm reporting back to you what's going on. If you want to take other action by way of a motion or something, that's fine, but I would like to at least have an opportunity. We've exchanged emails on the situation with the county administrator, and now I'm trying to set up that meeting next week with him and just see, maybe meeting with him, we can work out a deal. And maybe with a deal involves the parking revenue. I don't know. When I approached him originally when I came here, he didn't want to talk about the parking revenue at County Park. But now things have changed because of the fact that they're on our beach, and so I don't want to belabor the point, but that's...
well, let's limit the discussion to your vendor, who you signed an agreement with, is on our beach, and we're going to ask you to have them push back so that our guys can put their chairs out. That's the quickest thing.
Right.
We can't be arguing saying, give us the parking back in 2 weeks. But we can certainly try to help Saltwater Destinations expand if they want to expand. And presumably attached to this contract is a map of all the Madeira Beach beaches that they have, sole rights to. And anyone that's not, we can't let other people, and they need to tell us, they need to call us on the phone. I mean, going to a commissioner and saying something, did they ever call you and say, hey, we're having an issue out here with too many other vendors on the land? Or, see, that would have been the first thing.
And I gave them
because
both
we only meet every 2 weeks. So
I gave them both my card too, so they've got my cell number, they've got everything.
I'm just saying, we're already getting behind on it.
Well, I would suggest we give the city manager, the time he needs to get with the county, and on the other properties, the condominiums, the hotels, where they have private vendors out there that are beyond the property line, then we're going to have to talk to those associations right away, to the fact that they don't have a contract with the city to have their chairs out there, and they're going to need to move them back or sign a contract with Saltwater Destinations and get their approval to have the chairs out there. Because Saltwater Destinations has the citywide contract on chairs.
Can we get
So
a
they can
map of
sublet.
what is city beach, or what is Madeira Beach, that we have given them exclusive rights to?
Yes, I have that
Get-
in my office.
Okay, all right. Will you send that to me, please?
Sure.
Because I went on the Pinellas County property appraisers, and it's not clear where the condos end and we begin. And I'm looking at just neighbors, not
Right.
lengthwise, but, okay.
Mr. Daniels, do you think you can get this wrapped up by the next workshop?
I will try my hardest.
Okay. Can you just get back with us then on that? And
Definitely give you an update on it.
And where we can get some enforcement on the, other than the county, I understand, poking the bear quite well. But we can go ahead with, discussions with the condominium associations where they're in violation and get that enforced. But there's, again, if Saltwater Destinations isn't going to expand down there, then these folks, I would say, need to get with Saltwater Destinations on a side agreement with Saltwater Destinations to have their chairs out there. Okay.
One
Yes.
last thing about the city manager's report. The marina report in here, rather than having a fishing report, can we get the director to give us more of a gas sales and merchandise sales and what they plan to do to
Sure.
make money and improve, and what's the forward thought? Because month after month we get the fishing report, and I see the other departments are saying this is, and I like the fact that we have the grunt hunt coming up. That would be something good to put in there. But I'd like to see what suggestions or what they're working on to further develop our marina.
If you can please just keep in mind, this kind of morphed from what we put out to the public to, adding the items in there that we need to add. So, but I've gotten a lot of comments about the fishing report, believe it or not, and the people that read it, our residents, like it. So, but yes, we can.
For my purpose, well, then add a paragraph.
Right.
Is what they're doing to.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Next is 2022 budget process. Mr. Laughlin.
Okay, my report is far less controversial, I hope. First, just wanted to give you just a quick financial overview. As we met in a previous workshop, made you aware that all the city's financial information, both at the fund level and the department level, are available online. So at any time, if you all dig into that, dig into a fund in a department, see something that looks unusual to you, please reach out to me, and I can give you more information about it. But also, I just took the time to quickly go through some of the highlights, and I'll share some quick numbers with you. On the overview tab, the overview is a good indication of how a fund is faring, revenues compared to expenses. So what we want to see is the fund's actual revenues are exceeding the fund's expenses, so it's in the positive. All funds except for three are positive. General fund doing really well, 5.5 million of revenues compared to 2.7 million of expenses. Keep in mind, though, that's the ad valorem taxes are front-loaded, collections mostly in November, December, so it's a little skewed. So probably in the last 6 months of the year, we'll see more expenses than revenues, but right now, general fund looking good. The three funds are just the Archibald Fund, that's 51% was expenses, 48% was revenue, but that's even better than what we had budgeted in the Archibald Fund at 57% to 43% was what we budgeted. Sanitation, also a little, 47% was revenue, 53% was expenditure. That's in the budget. The actual is 45% revenue, 55% expenditure, real close to budget, so no major concerns there. Stormwater actual, only 7% revenue, 93% expense, but remember, a lot of that, the stormwater fund only has stormwater fees. There's also a transfer to the from the general fund, but we do that at year end, so that skews the results on that a little bit compared to budget. On the expense side, so expense, we have a graph that shows budget to actual, and we annualize the actual figure compared to annual budget. So very good indication to see how can we predict by the end of the year how departments are faring, comparing their budget expenses to their actual. Every single department within the city was under the expenses within the general fund, except for two, just Johns Pass Village and Parks, and those had to do where actual annualized was $205,000 of expenses for Johns Pass Village compared to $169,000 budgeted. A lot of that has to do with the Johns Pass channel study for $23,000, a larger one-time cost there. And then Parks, same thing, a capital-related item, portable restroom renovation at Kitty Stewart Park for $39,000. So actual, that drove actual annualized up higher than budget. So we'll keep an eye on those two departments for sure to make sure by year end, or as we get closer to year end, that actual doesn't exceed budget. And if we look like we could get in a position, then that may be a potential budget amendment that we would have to consider. But all in all, looking good on the expense side. And on the revenue side, there are some where the actual annualized are less than budget. That's in Archibald, so collections thus far not quite meeting for those Archibald parking meters, not quite meeting where we are in budget, so we'll keep an eye on that. Same with gas tax fund, $73,000 actual annualized to $101,000 budget. General fund, again, looking great, $12.4 million actual compared to only $10.1 of budget, so that's looking good. But mind you, the ad valorem tax skew that exists in the beginning of the year. The lost fund of the Penny for Pinellas, $337K actual annualized compared to $489, so we're a little down on that. Marina, close, $2.02 million revenue actual compared to $2.4 million budgeted. A lot of that has to do with unleaded fuel sales. We budgeted $1.4 million. We're only at $500,000, so we're about halfway through the year, so we should see that being a little higher, and it's not. Again, something to keep an eye on. Sanitation closed about $1.1 million actual to $1.3 million budgeted. And then stormwater mentions some of the things there, $623,000 of actual compared to $2 million, but that's due to that transfer from the general fund to help pay debt service. We booked that at the end of the year. So that's just my quick overview. Any questions on that, I'll happy to address. Otherwise, I can spend the rest of the time just hitting my information here on the upcoming budgeting process.
I do have a comment or two, and one is that I have heard that the state is expecting overall county by county revenues to be down by about 3% this next year, something we probably need to keep in mind during the budget process. Ad valorem taxes, they're expecting property values to have a slight decline this next year. That, and I also, while we're talking about that, our parks look like 7 miles of blown-up highway, and I'd like to see us get some money in the budget this next year for that. And y'all throw rocks at me every time I bring it up, but we might want to think about a quarter on that parking meter revenue, and I know Doug doesn't like doing that. I know I'm getting daggers under the desk up here, but I think we're about the lowest around on parking, and we're at 250. I think the closest one to us is 275. I think that's something we may want to take a look at, and we also need, again, to push on enforcement, parking, littering. No ordinance is any good if it's not enforced. So I'll give it back to you, Andrew.
Okay, great. So the last little nugget I wanted to give you is just kind of a glimpse or a sneak peek into what our budgeting process is going to look like in the coming months. So excited to announce that we've got some technology-related changes that we're going to be implementing across city departments that you'll also experience as well. So we're going to be using a software program to help compile all the budget information from each of the departments and then be able to disseminate that to you. So some cool things here just on the first page. We'll have a budget configuration page. So these are things that we can set initially, and then throughout the budget process, if something changes, we can just make a change to one of these items. So if we know our group insurance, we estimate that early on, but then we get more information from our health insurance carrier that's going to be X instead of Y. Well, we can just make a change here, and then it automatically updates all of these salaries and wages and benefits information in each of the departments and flows through to some cool charts and graphs that you'll be able to see on revenues versus expenses in each of the funds. Same thing if we want to tweak the millage rate, we can do that very quickly. I can have the program up. Let's change it from 2.75 to 2.85. What is the impact on that in the general fund? So a lot of good things we can do there to create a more scenario analysis as we go through the budgeting process. And each department has a personnel management page so they can manage if they want to add an employee, they add an employee. They want to specify the number of hours of overtime, they do that, and then everything self-calculates. That then helps them prepare a next year operating budget. So these go to each of the departments to enter their amounts, add comments. All the next year then budget information is automatically calculated and combined at the department level and fund level for presentation to you all. So they do that for personnel, which on the personnel side, it's really auto-calculated because they just update the personnel management form for their department, which shows all their employees, their pay rates. Again, another scenario we can build. Let's give a 3% citywide increase. Now let's give a 2%. We can play with that all day and see what the differences look like, and what the impact is by department. On the operating side, they'll enter then their next year budget amount, have comments to justify and what the nature of those expenditures are, so you'll be able to see all that information. And then on the capital budget, another form that they'll be able to enter in all of their capital, just asset acquisitions as well as projects, and if it's a multi-year project, what's their expected outlays over the next however many fiscal years. And so then all of that will be condensed and shown to you as well. And then same thing with next year's revenue budget. So we'll assign various department heads certain revenue accounts that they'll be responsible for projecting. So for example, Jay Hatch, our recreation director, will provide projections on all the recreation-related revenues that are in the general fund. So we have assignments for each of those. And they complete the forms. It gets submitted through workflow approval. The forms get locked down, so only the department heads can make updates. So then when we go into a budget workshop and you have a suggested change, we put that in the comments that then workflows back to the department head to make the changes. So there's integrity of each of the forms, and there's no unauthorized changes being made. The department heads are well aware of everything that's changing from their first iteration to final because they're the ones in control. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that versus the method we used this past year was really just loose spreadsheets and everything put on Excel spreadsheets, and we had some version control issues. So this fixes all of that. And then the last couple pages are just some of the charts that you all will be able to see. And again, it's dynamic where you can click on and pick a fund, similar to what the financial transparency website looks like. So you'll have access to this to see in a more summarized manner. You can go into all the detail and show all the accounts, like we show in this budget reporting inflows by fund, shows all for each. This is just an example on sanitation, what the overview will look like, what the revenues will look like, inflows, shows prior actual, current year budget, current year projection, next year budget, and then also on the expenditure side. So you get all of that information both numerically and in graphical form. So hoping that you all, this provides better, more transparent information. It'll be a smoother process. So hopefully you all enjoy it, and we can, and you know, as far as access to it, so we don't have to keep just printing out documents. You'll have online access as well that you can, you know, view this at any time and prepare as you see fit for each budget workshop. So excited to roll it out. Hopefully it works well. And looking, hard to say, but yes, looking forward to budget season.
One of my favorite things.
Yay.
As sick in the head as I am, I'm looking forward to this.
By the way, Andrew, I want to thank you. I noticed we've gotten you into one sandal. We've just got to get you into one more.
It's a bad snowboarding accident this past weekend. Did not make good friends with a tree, so.
Gracious.
Yeah. I did have a helmet, so yes. The ankle took the brunt, not the head, thank God.
Well, speedy recovery. Next is reports and correspondence. Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor, just one quick thing. I just got sworn in tonight, so you can raise the parking rate to $5 an hour, man. I'm here for 2 years. Totally kidding.
Hey, that's what I wanted to do at Kitty Stewart Park, so.
I'm good.
You guys were throwing rocks at me.
in all seriousness, your comment about the pocket parks and the other parks, I think is real good to kind of use for the workshop when we're talking about the Public Works Director and what we're looking for, because, yeah, I think that's got to be a focus on what we're doing, and I agree with you 100% that that's somewhere we got to dedicate some resources and some, you know.
Yeah, we really do.
Boots on the ground.
And in fact, some of it we need to get going right away, and that's at 9/11, because this is a big year for that. So, anyone else have anything? I do want to say our positivity rate is down to, I think, 4.8% now. So we're on a roll. Yeah. City Attorney, do you have anything for us?
Just want to say congratulations to Commissioners Andrews and Hudson. Look forward to working with you in the next couple of years. So, and I also want to congratulate Commissioner Douthert for his past 4 years on the commission. Thank you.
Hey, I do have a question. Are we still waiting to hear from 2 other cities about the library agreement?
So I've got comments from the attorney for Treasure Island. I've got suggested changes, which I've gone through. I have gotten no response from the attorney for Reddington's. So
which Reddington?
It's I think Reddington Shores. That's Jim Denhart. I obviously have heard from my partner who does Reddington Beach and North Reddington Beach. I keep reaching out to the other attorney, and I've been unsuccessful. I guess the approach we could take is just bring it forward with the suggestions that the 3 attorneys involved have already had an opportunity to review, and to see if it pushes through in Reddington Shores. So, but anyhow, I keep pressing for information and status updates, and I've got none.
Okay.
So, and
well, I'm glad you heard from Treasure Island.
yes, I did. She had quite a few suggested changes. So a lot of them, in my mind, acceptable. But some of them I don't agree with because of the fact that it wasn't the direction that I was given from this commission. So.
And the direction from this commission came from the cities, the mayors that were involved in this, so.
Understood.
So it was Reddington Shores and
Reddington Shores is the only one that's left that I haven't gotten a response from.
I'll make a call tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mr. Trask, I got one quick question. I was approached to serve on the board of the Treasure Island Madeira Beach Chamber of Commerce. Do I need the permission of the board in order to do so?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. So I am serving on the board of the Treasure Island Madeira Beach Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, guys.
Great.
Good.
That'll keep you occupied for a while.
Does that make a difference if I still go to the, chambers? I'm not involved like you are, I'm just a regular member with them. Is there a problem with that?
No, the only thing I would just caution you both on is that there be no discussion about items that are ultimately going to come back to this commission for action, and you can avoid any possible technical argument that there was a violation of the Sunshine Law. So,
All right.
but you have, obviously, you could sit there and listen and participate in anything that won't necessarily be addressed here.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, anyone else?
Nope.
City manager, have you got anything else for us? Yes, sir. City clerk?
I would like to say congratulations to the two new commissioners, Doug Andrew again, and Dave Hudson, and congratulations, and wish, John Douthert a great future going forward.
Thank you very much. With that, it is 8 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.